Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel, and I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I would just like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And some people I always like to thank who have inspired me on my journey. And I will have links to their sites below this video. They are Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Laser Brody, Rav Daniel Asor, Rabbi Alona Nava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Nisan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Jews for JUDAISM, Rabbi Michael Skobac, and hopefully I didn't leave anyone out. So today's topic I took from this wonderful book that or Sefer, I don't know what we call it, called Lilmod, וללמד. And it talks about insights on the weekly Parasha, the weekly Sefer that we read. And it's got some great insights, and I'll put a link to the name of this book in case you can still find it, in case it's still in circulation. So we read this week's Parasha, Parashat Vayetzei, and the topic for today is called Great Enthusiasm. So where do we relate this trait that something that Yaakov was able to learn from Lavan? Now he went to Lavan. That was his mother's brother, because he wanted to go find himself a wife, and also he was escaping from Esau, his brother, who was going to kill him because he took away his birthright, and that whole story from last week's Parsha. So, like before, it seemed like the forefathers it's someone within their family that they marry, within their own family. So what happened is that Yaakov ended up staying there for 20 years because he was tricked. He married Leah first. He was supposed to marry Rachel, and he ended up staying there and working for him. So, but what he did was he was very strong because he went and studied in yeshiva of Aver beforehand for 14 years because Lavan was an idol worshiper. So, but it says here in this book here that not only didn't he adopt this idol worshiper's ways, but he learned how to enhance his own avodas Hashem, his own, working, connecting to Hashem. For he noticed that whenever Lavan was practicing deceit, Lavan did so with great enthusiasm. So Yaakov said, if only I could show the same enthusiasm when serving Hashem. And so he began worshiping him with added zeal. So even from, unfortunately, Russia like that, we can learn a lot. You look at, they're like, wow, they did it with such great enthusiasm, with such fervor, he's like, that is a lesson for me to learn how I can do it properly, in a positive way. Now, another interesting story was from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, that he derived a positive lesson from the wickedness of someone else. So it tells the story that he was trying to raise funds to free Jewish prisoners called Pidyon Shvuyim. And he would go to pound on the doors and ask people, and he was not successful in collecting. And he was frustrated, and he said, well, maybe I'm just wasting my time and I should go home and go and learn Torah instead. He figured he should be productive and do something because he wasn't successful in that way. And before he was going to do that, he was asked to go visit a prisoner and who was caught stealing and was in jail, so he agreed to do so. And when he got there, he said to the prisoner, oh, look at all the trouble that you've done, and you were stealing, and now this is a lesson you learned so that when you are released from jail, you won't return to do this horrible, evil thing that you did, the stealing. So, of course, not only did you not keep the money that you stole, you also had to go to jail. So what did the robber say? He said, that's all right. If I didn't succeed in the crime this time, I will succeed next time. So what did Rabbi Levi Yitzchak learn from this when he heard this? He says, if after all his suffering, this thief didn't become discouraged and is willing to try to steal again, then what right do I have to become discouraged in raising money? Forget about returning home. If I did not succeed in raising funds today, I will succeed tomorrow. So what did Rabbi Levi Yitzchak learn? He learned that you don't give up. Even though this other person was doing something for the bad, he learned from him that, wow, I shouldn't give up. I'm going to continue. I'm going to try again tomorrow and I succeed. So you hear the expression, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Now hopefully it's for something positive, not for something negative. So, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes you stumble a little, but what will help you a lot is always connecting to Hashem, serving Hashem, learning Torah, to infuse yourself, like an injection, an infusion of spirituality is going to help you overcome all these temptations that you want to do, because you see that they're futile and useless and have no positive benefit or attribute that really do anything for you in the long run. So that's how you'll be enthusiastic to do the good. And the same lesson, there's a few other lesson which is interesting. Here's one about the ant. The ant is small but is far from lazy. It goes about gathering one piece of food after another for its tribe, though it eats only a small portion of food. If we could only be half as zealous in our performance of mitzvot as the ant in his work, we would be in a much better position. This is in Mishlei. So isn't that amazing? An ant. I actually have seen ants. They make their own little, like anthill with sand. And, you could be somewhere and then you come where you live or something. I once had this where I was living, and they build these these hills. It's amazing. You can't imagine this tiny little ant carrying this 1 grain of sand each time and building up, and they go back and burrow underneath the ground. You see sometimes holes, and it's just like, how do they do this? They're so small, but they're so diligent. They don't give up. They continue time after time and do it. They're not lazy. And then a story from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. He said he was once watching a tightrope walker very carefully, and he was asked why he was so immersed in observing this man walk the tightrope. He said, imagine the concentration that goes into every single step this tightroper takes, because don't forget, his life hangs in the balance. When you're walking on a thin rope, it's the difference between life and death. The measure is so minute. If you don't keep concentrating and focusing on that, it's mind-boggling. It's talk about fight or flight. Talk about being scared out of your wits if you're not a person who can focus. And I once saw a movie about this person who did it even across the where was he? The Twin Towers, when they were still in existence. He actually did it. It was unbelievable. I forget the name of the movie, but you could probably look it up on the internet. It was phenomenal. He's done that across other places all over the world, but this is just amazing. And he was successful. I mean, just watching it, I was getting nervous. So he said, continuing on, 1 false step he could plunge to his death. We should remember to say our prayers with the very same concentration and devotion. You never know. Our lives may be hanging on every word we say. That's a great parable, that we need to say our prayers. So what I say about that is, when you make a bracha, when you make a blessing over your food, the best thing to do is close your eyes, say each word slowly and enunciate it, and think about what each word actually means and what you're saying. And it'll connect you so much more that you just put your heart and soul into it. Say it slowly. Don't slur your words. Same thing when you're saying your prayers. Say each word separately. Try to say it even out loud. Out loud is better than silently, because then you're really paying attention to it. Because when you say it silently, you tend to just kind of like go through it much quicker. But I think if you say it out loud and you enunciate it, like pronounce things slowly, like the way I'm talking now, where I'm pronouncing each word I'm saying. It's the same thing when you make a bracha, when you say a blessing, because, like you say, you never know. Our lives may be hanging in the balance. So we have to show that enthusiasm, show that strong avodas Hashem, to serve Hashem with that enthusiasm. And I pray and I hope, and if we all can do this, and all can come together as one, Am Yisrael, that we can merit to live and to see the coming of the Beis Hamikdash, and I should say the coming of the Mashiach, and the rebuilding of our everlasting final Beis Hamikdash speedily in our days. Amen. And I thank you for watching.